Welcome, welcome. I want to let you know that I have a fantastic conversation set up for today. A great topic. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution. And the topic is the power of collaboration, how accounting firms can win together. And we're going to be talking with Tony Proctor. So some things we're going to touch on as far as what to expect is how to unlock time-saving strategies, fuel your firm's growth, and also ways to be able to future-proof your accounting firm. I absolutely suggest you get ready to take some notes because Tony is very generous and is going to share a lot. And then we'll also let you know how you connect with him as we wrap up. A little bit about Tony Proctor, EA, is he is a seasoned enrolled agent, and he specializes in tax, accounting, bookkeeping, and business consulting. He has a career spanning nearly 2 decades in IT, and he's followed by a significant focus on tax law and HR management. And because he has those focuses, Tony actually brings a unique blend of technical expertise and financial acumen to the table. He is a passionate advocate for collaboration among accounting firms, and he leverages his experience in acquisitions and roundtable discussions in order to drive efficiency and innovation within the industry, which has so much innovation going on right now. And there's such a real need for collaboration. So I just want to say, in addition to that, beyond his professional interests and pursuits, Tony is a dedicated family man. He's an avid bowler and a motorcycle enthusiast. And overall, he is someone who brings passion and precision with everything that he does. If you want to learn more about Tony Proctor, as well as Proctor and Associates, you can go to Proctor, Proctor, taxprep.com. Once again, it's proctortaxprep.com. Anyway, Tony, I just want to say I'm looking forward to this conversation. Let's just jump in and really start out with your journey in the accounting and tax industry. And what led you to really be that advocate for collaboration with accounting firms?
Yeah, absolutely, Ms. Lawrence. And thank you for the invitation and for allowing me to be here. So to kind of go back and make this very brief, but give the key components, I started my firm, as many people did, as a side hustle. I think that's the nice word to say nowadays, but for me, I was working 9 to 5, and the rest of my life I was spending in my firm. And so at that time, I was actually working in IT. I was an IT support manager, end user training, and while I was doing that, I was building up my accounting firm. And at first, it was just like, let me get a couple of clients. And then a couple turned into 4, 4 turned into 8, and then things just continued to grow. But I started out primarily as tax prep. It was, folks needed help with it, and some of the chain things just weren't working for a lot of folks in my community. And so organically, it grew from there. Started with tax returns, and then realized folks needed help with keeping up with their books and their accounting. And then realized, oh, well, we got that going. Now I have payroll. And so anyone is in our industry knows that payroll, a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with it. I happen to have more love than hate right now. We'll see how I feel after the end of quarter compliance. And so just kind of taking that direction. But collaboration in IT, I was in support. And so collaboration was key because all departments, all groups have to talk to one another. Engineering's got to talk to networking's got to talk to hardware, so many different components. And so collaboration has really just always been part of who I am. I love bringing folks to the table and figuring out how can we do this more efficiently and effectively. So that's really the real quick and dirty piece of that, Ms. Lauren.
So overall, what I'm hearing is side hustle into tax prep. There was a lot of organic growth. So people were asking you to do things and you basically said yes to those requests. But the other thing that comes up with collaboration is that I see it more when it's someone that either has an experience in being in the corporate sector or else they've been in sports. And do either of those apply to you?
So corporate sector for sure. And sports as well. I played organized sports for about one semester in high school, got injured, and then there went that career. But you know, when I was working in IT, that was a corporate space, a major corporation with we had a few thousand folks across the map. And so knowing that, okay, my piece is good, but let me make sure that the other team's piece is good, because at the end, there's one big old component that we have to put together. And so, yes, collaboration is key, because everyone's got their piece. And if one person drops the ball, it's like, I think about it in school when we had to do group assignments, and you got 4 or 5 people, and it's usually one person. I don't know whether someone pointed to that person or if that person was you. But there was usually one person who was just like, I don't care. Whenever we got to get up and present, then I'm gonna do my piece. But that makes a difference, because if you don't do your piece with excellence, now the entire project is down. I had an old mentor who said, you know, the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And so I have always held that when I think about how can everyone come to the table and be in some sort of agreement, because there's going to be disagreements, we get that, but be in some agreement, and make sure that we put out a decent product, whether that's something within, whether it's, you know, corporate and we got to put together a project, whether it's in sports and we got to go and make this championship play, whatever it may be. Like, we all got to make sure that we're giving our all.
And I think that collaboration is such an interesting topic, because in my own journey, I've seen changes where in the beginning it was competitive, where it was me against other people doing something similar. And it was coming from a place of scarcity where there wasn't enough. And I didn't want to share. I didn't share very nicely in the beginning when I was first in this space. And then over time, I really became aware of collaboration and shifting the mindset to it is more than enough. So that's what I've seen, is that the mindset from competition to collaboration is a continuum, and it really goes from not enough to more than enough. And so what are some of the key benefits maybe that you've observed when firms do start working together? Especially, is there some things around efficiency and effectiveness that really come up as benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of chuckled when you said that, because just before the meeting, I was saying to myself, you know, we need to go from competition to collaboration. I literally said that. And so for you to even make mention of that, I was like, okay, well, I guess I was on the right track. And so anyway, let me answer the question. So, you know, how do we come together and improve our efficiency and being effective? One of the biggest pieces is shared resources. You know, I always look at our industry in kind of 3 segments. And this is from resources, software, just the nature of the business. There's the solopreneur. And I say solopreneur, but that's like a 1 and a possible 1 to 2 kind of operation. And then we have the firms that are like 2 to 10, 2 to 15, and there's a space in there. I think that that's the space that constantly gets overlooked from resources. And then there's like the 15, 20 head count and higher, which they do need some heavy hitting software. And so I can go and get software, and I'm going to pay whatever, a seat license of 150 per seat. And I have 2 or 3 folks, and now I'm having to come out, you know, $300, $400, $500. But if I collaborate with someone else and say, hey, I need 3, you need 4, and then let's go ahead and call Lauren because she also needs 4. The power of numbers. Now we can go and get this software at a seat license cost of $75 or $50. And, you know, I don't care what multiple you want to put on that, $7,500, and people are like, oh, that's nothing. Well, make it 750 or 7,500, whatever the multiple needs to be. But those resources are very key. Also, I think from just human capital. Again, I can sit here and beat my head against the wall trying to figure out, how do I deal with this? I don't know. I just had a call earlier. This 1031 exchange. It's pretty simple for most folks. But if I have what I call phone a friend, if I can reach out to someone, whether across the aisle, even if that's virtually, Or I can just pick up the phone really quickly and say, hey, what do you think about this? Yada, 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 yada. Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Boom. I can get back to my client 20, 30 minutes. If it's just me, now I got to reach out, put something on social media. Hey guys, I need help with A, B, and C. And then 88 people will respond, but nobody's going to pick up the phone and help me walk through it, yada, yada, yada. And so now I look like the superhero because they called me and they were expecting that I was going to have to reach out and call someone and it was going to take a week. And I'm able to send them a response or pick up the phone and call them back in 20, 30 minutes or even an hour. That, like, we ultimately want to make sure that we can serve our clients the best way that we can. Will we always do it perfectly? No. I mean, we're all human beings. We all own this thing. But that shared resource, and even from a stance of like innovation, like I've been doing something a certain way for 20 years. But someone else comes along and they figured out a way to do it differently, and maybe they've only did it for a year or two. But if they can do it better, why am I going to say, well, I've been doing it 20 years this way. There's no way in your new fancy way. It's innovative. If I can do more with less because of a colleague that said, hey, try it this way, come on. It's a win-win for everybody. So definitely when we work together, I always use the term phone a friend. Some of my team members and peers are like, Tony, shut up with the phone a friend. But it's what it is, literally. So I think that's definitely a key benefit there.
And when you're talking about the collaboration, I'm thinking it can be very, very simple, where maybe you just have a core group and you are doing things with these particular people because you have history with them, you really know what works with them, it's very easy. Or it could be complex, where you have a web of people and you have certain different cohorts, for lack of a better word, where you can reach out to different people for different things. What have you seen tends to work best when somebody's getting started with this?
So getting started, I think smaller, because as you get into larger groups, those larger groups ultimately have smaller cliques. I mean, it's the reality. And so if I'm starting out brand new, let me find a circle that may have 4 or 5 people in it that I trust them, they trust me. It's a mutual understanding. And if I reach out to them, they'll be able to get back to me pretty quickly. Starting out brand new, and let me just interject really quickly.
Yeah.
Like you have to prove yourself. I mean, I don't know, this is probably inappropriate, but it's almost like a game. Like you have to show that you're worth sitting at the table. And which means that not only are you going to come here and eat off the plate, but you're also going to contribute to the table as well. And so it's easier to do that when it's a group of 3, 4, or 5. When we have these larger groups, I mean, I'm in some groups that are, 50, 100 folks. And sometimes it's so much noise that your question can get lost, or no one remembers who you are because they see the other 88 names that are constantly in there. And so now when Tony says, hey guys, got a quick question, 13 other people were still following up on the conversation from 2 days ago. Mine gets lost, and now I'm like, no one cares about me. Well, they didn't see it because of all the extra noise. But again, those groups that are 50, 100 plus, they usually have smaller segments that are probably down to 5 or 10 anyway. And so starting out, I would say, hey, find you a solid group of about 4 or 5 just to kind of get the party started, and then let that organically grow from there.
Okay, so I appreciate the clarification on that. And was there maybe a decisive moment for you where it really came, that light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, collaboration is really something that can take my firm to the next level?
Yes. I think, and this is very recent. I have a number of examples, but the most recent one, there's a peer of mine that I'll be honest, I was internet stalking. And so we actually met in real life, and I was like, hey, this is weird, this is awkward, but I've been internet stalking you. And so She was like, oh my gosh, like little old me. And I'm like, yeah, little old you. You didn't even realize it. I never knew that we were going to cross paths in person. Fast forward 6 months after that, that person traveled to my office and we spent 2.5 days in like just straight up masterminding. I'm sharing, she's sharing, I'm coming out like ready to go. My team is looking at me like, oh my gosh, Tony, you became a monster in just a weekend, because there were so many different things and different perspectives that I was able to come, because I've been doing it a certain way. And if I can be transparent, some of my ways were probably Band-Aid ways, because I started out as side hustle and it just continued to grow. And I just had to pick one little piece to fix. And then 20 years later, it's like, what the heck is this Frankenstein monster that you have? But anyway, and so being able to have, and this was something we're like, yo, we're going to have to do this more regularly and bring more people to the table. Having that opportunity to sit down with someone who's been in the game for 5 years, 6 years, but they've done probably as much, if not more, as what I've done, because they went into it in a different season. I started out in the early 2000s where, you actually had to go into the big blue store and buy a piece of equipment. Today, like you can order it at 9 a.m. and if you're in the right zip code, it'll be there by 5 p.m. the same day. So I use that as just a quick little example, but having the opportunity to sit with someone, and it was not anything like, well, I'm not going to tell you how to do this because you may take that and you may compete against me. It was like, hey, do this. And if you need help or you get stuck, here, call me. I got you. Because if we're both doing this at excellence, then we both are going to rise together. And so that was, for me, it was like, okay, you know what? This is real deal. Like, firms have got to be open to co-firming. I know we're going to talk about the whole trust component in a minute, but like you have to be open to that. And if you're not, you're like, hey, I'm ready to just start closing it up, then that's the decision that you can go with if you're ready to be out of it. But if you plan on hanging out for 2 years or more, yeah, you need to get with a good circle and be able to trust that this is going to be for the best benefit of all parties.
And the concept of mastermind that you're bringing up is something that I actually first heard about when I was moving this direction of business coaching by reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I will say it changed my entire life by really finding that right business coach and joining her mastermind and being around other people moving in a similar direction, where some people I got to stand on their shoulders because they were ahead of me. So I really find that that's true for business owners. If you can get yourself around a collection of people who are future focused, they are growth minded, they're coming from a place of positivity and wanting to lift others up with them instead of knock someone down, it's going to make a difference for you and your business. And I even see that with my clients when we have our mastermind meetings, is how they're so generous in helping each other out. So I'm so glad that you stumbled upon that experience for yourself, Tony. So now thinking about, collaboration, we touched on small business owners. How specifically do you see it really would benefit small business owners?
So specifically with small business owners, I always talk to small business owners and I'm like, I always joke that I like red velvet cupcakes. So you do a great job at making red velvet cupcake. That's what your business is. You do a terrible job at managing the finances. You do a terrible job at remembering that you have to go and get more pounds of flour or more butter or more eggs. And so you have to know, like, what am I good or great at, and where do I need assistance? And so if I look into, again, we use this red velvet example, and if anyone does red velvet cupcakes, please let me know, send me an email, I'll place an order. If you do a great job at making the product, but you're terrible or you don't have the capacity for distribution. Again, I can make all the cakes, but if I don't have anyone to take them to the places that need to go, we need to have it be distributed. That's where we have the different apps out here. They're not sponsoring you, Ms. Lawrence. I'm not going to say their name, but we know who the delivery services are that I can say, hey, you come in, you pick it up, and you go and take it to my people. And so I need help with distribution. I'm going to partner with someone who does a great job at distribution. I need help with legal. I'm going to partner with someone who does excellent legal work. I need help with this financial management because money's coming in, but I don't know where it's going and why it's not in my bank account. I need to find a great accounting partner. And so it's not just, different firms. I mean, in your business, you need to find number one is trust. Who can I trust that is going to partner with me, collaborate with me to ensure that I have a holistic experience for my customers, whether you're doing B2B, B2C, B2G, whatever flavor of business that you're running, you have to make sure that you have the right folks around the table that's going to help you to drive forward. So.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is you want to know where you want to build a strengths-based business and really know where you excel and where you need some support. That was true for me also, because I mean, let's face it, even hearing your story, we all wear all the hats in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what I found was some things I actually loved doing, they were a joy to do. And others were painful, struggle, I just wished would go away. And those were the things I got off of my plate first.
That's right. Absolutely.
And it made a huge difference. In fact, what I would say for anybody that's at that point in their firm is to realize that by getting the things that you struggle with off of your plate and finding someone that plays at what you struggle with makes that other person an investment instead of a cost, because it frees you up to work more on the things that you really excel at.
Yes. I always use the example of whatever your hourly rate is that partnership, that collaboration going to save you whatever it is that you're investing? Is it worth whatever your hourly rate is? And again, I don't care whether you're doing red velvet cupcakes or you're changing light bulbs on the doggone light up in the air that I think they get paid $50,000 per bulb that they change each year. Like whatever it is, whatever your hourly rate is, that's what you have to consider as what is my true investment? Because if I'm going to save myself 2 hours and I charge $300 an hour, then it's well worth a $500 investment.
Absolutely. And I know that you mentioned earlier that you have this background in IT. So let's talk about IT and collaboration with accounting firms. Any tools or platforms that you have found really stand out as far as being most effective?
Yes. So some people have a love-hate relationship, but Slack. So Slack allows you to have various spider arms, if you will, from outside people. So a lot of people use Slack exclusively internally to their own team and the folks that's in their organization. But you also have the opportunity to have outside folks that are still within that same Slack mechanism. And so, I started out with Slack very early on, and this was before COVID when everyone was forced to embrace technology. And so we were using it solely internally. But then during COVID, like some folks were using the Google chat mechanism. Some folks were using GroupMe. There's so many different platforms. But I have found that Slack, as well as GroupMe, but Slack from a communication platform is amazing. Also, whether you want to go the Google route or the Microsoft route, because they are all within the cloud, anyone can make contributions into a shared Word document or a PowerPoint, Excel, whatever the case may be. Again, being slightly transparent here, I've had some assistance with getting prepared for some of my engagements this year. And it's like, hey, here's the PowerPoint deck. Can you take care of this piece? Hey, can you take care of that piece? And I don't have to worry about sending a file. Oh, it's too big. You can't send it, blah, 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 blah. Like we are looking at this live. And so I'm speaking specifically to like something that's administrative, but even from an accounting standpoint, we can all jump into an Excel sheet. If I have a multiple entity thing that I have to deal with, or I have some workbook that's turning my life upside down, I can shoot a link into Slack and say, hey, can you hop in here and let me know what's going on? And if we need to hop on a video so we can talk through it, like, let's do that. But it's immediate. And so from a collaboration standpoint, technology, like if you don't embrace technology, you might as well just put the for sale sign up outside, because it's here to stay.
Mhm.
And you got to get with it or you're going to get kicked out, unfortunately.
So you're a fan of Slack, and also some type of cloud-based collaboration, whether it's Google or Microsoft.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so let's talk a little bit about now skepticism. I went into my own experience of going from not enough to more than enough, and it changed everything. Another thing I just want to add with collaboration and being in a mastermind is that when you're around people who are more advanced than you are, they're further along, and they're getting the results that you crave, it can bring up jealousy and envy for some people if you're not aware of that happening within you. And one of the changes that I found for myself is, instead of going down that path of jealousy and envy, I had to change my perception to realize that if they can do it, I can do it too. And so it became, instead of that jealousy, it became now inspiration. So let's go into the skepticism, the common fears or challenges related to collaboration, the competition, sharing sensitive information. What's been your take on it?
So it is a very interesting adventure. One, like we have to establish trust. And so by no means am I saying, hey, go out here, find another firm, and then tomorrow, all of a sudden, we're doing these major collaboration projects. Like you have to dip your toe in the water. And again, you have to prove yourself to the other side, and then vice versa. And so let's start out with something small. Hey, can you help me on this small piece of a larger project? Because if you come up missing or you screw it up, at least I don't have to redo the whole project. I just need to have someone come in and just fix this small piece. And so, yeah, there's the trust factor. The second piece is we have to have clear guardrails in place. And by guardrails, like who's doing what by when, and where is it documented? Because there's a lot of handshake agreements that happen. But we all have seen situations where things go to the left, and now everyone conveniently forgot what they said. And so we have to have it documented. We have to know what our goals. So we come together. What's the end goal? Is the goal to get this final project to the customer by the end of May? Is the goal for us to start with a project that's X size, and then let's continue to make this thing bigger, and then by 6 months or a year, we now can make a determination on, okay, we did a couple of test runs. Now, what's our next piece? So I definitely recommend that we have those conversations up front. It's documented, and we have goals. And just like, in any other business, like, or any other section, like, what are the goals? What are we trying to do? And when do we need to have it done? So that we can make sure that this is where we need to go. Because without that, that's where we start to question, like, oh man, did I make the right decision? From a documentation standpoint, what happens if they call my client after hours when I'm not around and they take them from me? Well, we should have agreements in place that say who is going to be facing or client facing. And look, the reality is that things can happen. Nothing is going to be 100% foolproof, bulletproof. But at least if we have things in place, it will help to know, like, how is it that we're going to drive forward how are we going to come together? What is it's two firms, three firms, whatever the case may be. How are we going to drive this thing forward? And everyone's on the same sheet of music. We can, I'm not going to say eliminate the fear, but we can kind of push some of the fear of the what ifs if we deal with them on the front end. What if they take my client? Well, let's put something in place that says if they take the client. What if they call the client for something that's not on their end? Well, let's make sure we write something about who, again, who's going to call, who's going to do what by when, so we can get rid of some of that. I hope that I kind of went a little bit on a tangent because I talk about this all the time to get on my nerves, but
Absolutely. I see this as your collaboration playbook, Tony. So that basically there's three parts to your playbook. The first one is trust. Start out with baby steps. Don't go into marriage right away. You want to date someone for a little bit to make sure you still like them after the first project. The second one is guardrails, really reverse engineering pretty much what it is you want to achieve, and then looking at who does what, when is it due by, as well as documentation in order to avoid confusion or maybe even redundancy. And then the third part is having agreements, those expectations, clarity around communication. And one thing that came up that I didn't hear is probably also agreeing on some type of NDA, because you're all sharing some proprietary information and you want to feel protected in that way.
yes, absolutely. And so I from a documentation standpoint, really it's the legal protection. And so protection from competition, protection from disclosure of stuff that we all have information on. Like we want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting our brands, but then we're also protecting our clients at the same time.
Absolutely. And once again, even if you're starting out new with someone like this, I think that they appreciate having boundaries and clear expectations that are really spelled out instead of those muddy waters.
Yes, absolutely. Makes a difference for sure.
So one final question that comes up for me is, let's look at the future. Any predictions about the future regarding collaboration and accounting, and how to be best prepared for these changes so that you're able to remain relevant instead of a firm of the past?
Yeah. So I kind of I look at it in three different pieces. Number one, and I've already probably beat this one, but technology is only going to get bigger and bigger. And I do believe that with I guess the term has been coined, co-firming. I believe that there's going to be technology platforms that are going to come out that are going to allow firms to do the co-firming thing. And they're probably going to be packaged where they're going to have, you know, a template or a library of forms that you can use that are going to be like an NDA and, you know, maybe some benchmark. I think that's going to be here. And so we always have to keep our finger on the pulse of technology and recognize that in this day and age, yesterday's technology is different from today, and it's going to be much different tomorrow. I mean, everyone's talking about AI. I mean, my gosh, AI has been around for decades, but within the last 12, 18 months or so, it has taken off. And to a point where people are like, I'm going to look into it now. Let me see. It's like, well, you're looking at version 1, and they're at version 107 now. So we definitely have an increased reliance on technology. The other piece is that I think we have to be prepared for what I would call cross-disciplinary teams. And so it's not just going to be, you know, who's the accountant for this, who's the accountant for that. I think that some of these roles are going to start to get more segmented. And so you're really going to start having folks that, you know, they have the technical background and training, but they may be more of behavior scientists. They may be the go-to technology expert, because some people love it, some people hate it. And so you may have someone who's dedicated solely to that. Maybe it'll be someone who solely does the analysis of the data. I mean, we have to recognize that it's not always going to be, okay, one person that's doing everything. Some of this is going to start being segmented. And that's the whole point of the co-firming. Because
Mhm.
if you have one person that's exclusively working on the technology, then that allows me to excel in my space of whatever my segment of the pie is. And so we need to be prepared for that and start thinking like who on the team can be focused on this. And again, I think the third piece is probably going to be considering the world. And so, we've been talking about this offshoring thing for a while. But global partnerships are going to happen. And I'm again being transparent from a technology standpoint, I love having folks be remote, but then I also have a not so loving relationship with folks being remote because I now lose access to what it is that they're doing. But people, I had a friend who sent me a message this morning, like, I'm in Mexico and I'm working. And they usually are in DC, but they happen to be in Mexico. So now their company is a major multi-billion-dollar corporation. So I'm sure they got things in place. But now I have to think about, if someone is accessing my data in Mexico or in the Philippines, like what type of platforms do I need to have in place? But I also need to open my mind to, okay, my rock star person might be in another state, might be in another country, might be on the other side of the world. And so how do we open it up where collaboration is available around the clock? Now, that does not mean that you have to be sitting here. I'm like, I'm on 24/7. No, these are the parameters of timing when we're dealing with some of these global partnerships. Again, from a guardrail standpoint. So yeah, technology, cross-disciplinary teams, and then just being open to global partnerships.
And I think that that's once again a reflection of your corporate background is the segmentation, because in a large corporation, not everybody is doing everything. You don't have generalists, you have specialists, you have accounting departments, you have payroll departments, and so on. There's a lot of segmentation there. Similar to football, you don't play every single position on the team. You stay in your lane, and there's a reason for doing that. And when you're talking about the offshore and the global partnerships, I see that as being looking for the best person for the job instead of the local person for the job.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, actually, the offshore staffing agencies will have better security measures in place than someone who is actually onshore.
Yeah. And yeah, some of the agencies that are there already have things in place. And so, yes, I'm probably going to be paying them a little bit of a premium, but that premium is for some of the technology components that they have in place and not only for the person that I may be getting to join my team. So again, factoring in the holistic cost of this investment, if I don't have to go and get my own VPN because I'm working with someone who already has it in place, then absolutely, it's worth my while.
Absolutely. And I think the word of looking at it as an investment instead of a cost is really significant. So, Tony, we covered a lot in a short period of time. You made some really powerful points. I always appreciate our conversations.
Yes.
And some of the things that we touched on is unlocking some of those time-saving efficiencies, being able to fuel your firm growth, and the future-proofing for accounting firms. So if somebody wanted to connect with you as well as Proctor and Associates, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best way is going to be social media. So on LinkedIn, Tony Proctor, EA, I'm there. On Instagram, I have my personal page and my business page. The business page, Proctor Tax CLT, is all business stuff. I go a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puff sometimes, but on the personal side, I am Tony Proctor. And Facebook, I guess, for the folks that are that almost are reaching grandparent status, can get me on Facebook at Tony Proctor. I'm on there as well. And we'd love to have conversations just to talk through it. I think you may have mentioned, or I'll mention that I'll be doing a panel at Scaling New Heights this summer, talking about co-firming. Because it's been around for a little bit and it's only going to continue to grow. And so definitely wanting to open folks' eyes to it's coming down the pipeline and get ready for it.
And that is one of the bonuses of being able to start out with a virtual relationship, is that I'm looking forward to meeting you in person at Scaling New Heights this year. So that's going to be extra special. But I just want to thank you for joining me and everybody that's joined us for this engaging conversation. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, showing accounting firm owners how to double their income while working half the time.